Well, good morning, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and it's Wednesday morning. Foggy, nasty, 8 degrees Canadian and 47 American. But I have to tell you something about the only thing that doesn't look frosty is the frost. Do you know what I mean? It just looks like it should have been frosty last night. Maybe it was. It's really wintry. It's that damp cold that we're known for. The fog is really soaked in, so it's obviously going to be a day that I'm going to be late for work. But that's okay. Better safe than sorry. I'm sure you agree with me. It's been a really interesting time with this camera. Just to let you know that last night after work I went shopping quickly to get some essentials, and then I also went to get my camera looked at, and apparently it was the battery that had gone wrong, and so I'm really plagued with batteries. That's 3 batteries this week. Actually, it's not. The other 2 times I thought were battery problems were in fact camera problems. So the good news is I'm hoping that I'm now recording on the new camera. And as I think I've told you before, this new camera, of course, appealed to me because it was the DearMamaSal turquoisey color. So it's got to be good, right? It's got to have my name on it if it's the right color. Yeah, I bought a car that way too. This one, funnily enough. Because it matched the stripe on my trailer. I didn't really care whether it went or not, and touch wood, which I've got in here, touch wood, I must say that it's done very well, considering. So it was a really interesting time though, because there was this whole issue about when I put the battery in, it showed 3/4 full. So I plugged it in at 3/4 full, knowing that it would then just top it up. And then sort of did a few experiments with it while it was plugged in. That apparently fried the battery. So that was a bummer. And you know, they were very good considering, I must say. So what they did is gave me a new battery that was already conditioned, which begs the question, why don't they always do that? Could somebody please tell the powers that be that whenever you're selling a piece of equipment like this that's bound to be something people need to work with immediately, why doesn't the store sell a conditioned battery instead of an unconditioned one? Now, by a conditioned one, I mean one that's been already topped up to the limit in that first charge. And the answer would be because they don't know when they're going to sell it. That makes sense to me, except my logic says, if you know you are going to be selling X number of cameras a day, or X number of whatevers a day, on average, that it would be a really good customer service thing if you charged that many batteries a day, so that you could say to the new owner, here is your new camera, but here's a fully charged battery, you can go and use it immediately. Now that to me would be a great idea. So anybody know anybody in the business? And how many other things like that are there that really need to go that way? I'm very grateful for the fact we actually have batteries, of course. That's the other part of me. I have to try and balance that with that. Now, I'm very grateful for the fact that we do have batteries and that we can take these electronic devices with us. Can you imagine the first time that happened? I'm trying to... you know what was incredible? I mean, some of you are going to just die laughing because I'm that old. But when I was in my 20s, in my 20s, I can remember, was it my 30s? I think I was still, I don't know, maybe late 20s, I don't know. I can remember the first Walkman coming out. You know, something that you could take on a walk and play music. You know, with earphones. Wow. I remember how absolutely stunning that was. We had cassette players before then, but a Walkman, now there was a whole nother thing. And I guess that revolutionized everything and brought us to iPods, and that in turn brought us to iPads and tablets and goodness knows what else. But I just remember the buzz around iPhones. And I can remember my brother giving one to my aunt. And, you know, all her concerns about, was this going to kill her? I don't know why she thought that, but it was such a newfangled thing. And it was wonderful. And, you know, and that's why I keep saying every now and then I will take a moment just to be very grateful for the fact I've lived in these times. You know, in these times to have seen the first computers, well, the first consumer computers, the first electric typewriters before that. And it's just so exciting in a way to sort of see all the advances. And I look at my camera and go, gosh, this thing's got more memory in it than the first computers I had. Way more. Way more. And this one apparently, we haven't tried it yet. This one apparently has Wi-Fi capability, so that it can download without a wire. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to plug something into it or take a card out and do one of those things. It just actually can transmit wirelessly, which would be nice if I ever get it to work. The manual on this camera, you know, is a bit like the manual on a car. And I'm quite certain, as with my fancy television, I will end up having it for a long time and not having any idea of half of its capabilities. Do any of you relate to that? It's like, yeah, I turn it on, it does what I want it to do, that's good for me. The fact that it can, swing from the chandeliers and, do somersaults and do whatever, yeah, that would be nice. Now, I think my television has all sorts of capabilities that I've never ever done anything with. I've got a brand new Bluetooth recording machine or whatever. Never used it. So it's just like, I'm certain it's very important, but I've never used it. So, now, because to me, I mean, I don't know. It's just I don't use it. I never. I did. I actually, when I first got the television, I had it all plugged in the right way so it would work. Those were the days. I remember those days. Which leads me again to the question, which is, do we have far too much in our lives? In a way. And are we paying for far too much? For those of you who actually own your homes, I've got a question for you. And I'm certain some of you do, and that's why I want to ask you. I've always asked this question, and funny if it came up in a conversation with a client, it came up over the weekend when I was talking to somebody at Benji and Judy's. And that was, when you insure your house, do you insure the building or the building and the land? In other words, if your house is worth, I don't know, $250,000, $500,000, doesn't really matter. Whatever your house is worth, when you go to insure it, do you insure it at the value of the house and land, or the value of the house? Now, what they're inclined to say is the rebuild cost is so much a square foot or square meter, depending which country you live in. And it is likely that you insure by the rebuild cost. But it did strike me one day that most of us probably are, when we go to insure our houses, we go, okay, what's the value of it? It's worth $250,000 or $500,000, and we insure it at that price, which is an absolute waste of money, because there's no point in insuring the land. As far as I know. Because the insurance covers the rebuild of the house, not the land. Now, two things. If you were unfortunately caught in a fire and the house was destroyed, you'd still have the land, so you don't need to insure it. If, on the other hand, there was some wicked earthquake and your house and land got gobbled up by the earthquake, I don't think they'd be giving you back land. You might want to ask that question one day. So there's a lot of things there are a lot of things in our lives that we pay for that we never use. And conversely, there are a lot of things we don't pay for. I'm thinking again, the number of people who have storage units. I probably pay $100 a month for storage units. My feeling about that is why not buy or rent a bigger place? If you really want to keep that much stuff, buy an extra bedroom. But the chances are, like me, you've got far too much stuff. And we don't want to throw it away, so we put it in a storage unit. And you've got to ask yourselves, how many times do you ever go to the storage unit to get the stuff out of there? Now, I'll tell you what's a good use of a storage unit, in a way. Christmas decorations, any seasonal decorations. If you're going to put stuff in a storage unit, put the stuff you only use once a year. But I guess it's a bit like clothes. If you haven't used it in 2 years, get rid of the stuff. Get a smaller unit. So, now you do understand, I'm talking from a person who really has all her cupboards full. It's my greatest vice, I think, is hanging on to stuff. I'm trying very hard to work on improving that situation. weather. I'm going to tell you something. It is very close. It's really fall now. Forget about any hope of late summer. This is fall. I really want to thank all of you who wrote to me, by the way, and thanked me for the vlog I did going down through the trees down in northern Washington State, because it was great to know that so many of you appreciated that. And it was funny because Manon wrote to me from France and said that it reminded her of a trip she did in Canada when she was about 6. And was there anywhere close to me where I had, the Canadian maples, where I could go and take pictures of them for her, and so she could make a screensaver. And being the person I am, I wrote back to her and I said, have you tried Google Images? Because there are so many beautiful pictures on Google Images, far better than I could take. And you could make a really pretty screensaver with a bit of effort. And I think that's what she's going to do. But it was really nice to know that turning the camera around and just doing that part of the trip the other way around, if you like, where I was showing you where I was driving, was interesting to you. So that's good to know in case I ever do another road trip like that where it's pretty. And also nice to know that so many of you agreed with me that it really was a most beautiful part of Washington State. It's certainly my favorite. And I don't know if any of you have ever been to Oregon, and I'm sure that some of you have, but there's something about the Oregon coastline that's like that. The Oregon coastline is so rugged and so fierce in places. Fierce is the word that I would use. And you watch that Pacific Ocean come rolling in and you think, wow, how did those explorers ever keep their ships afloat in this long? That's what always strikes me when I see the Oregon coast. It's just like, how did they ever do this in their little matchboxes of ships? And I don't know if any of you are like that as well. Sometimes I will be in the mountains, even here in BC, and I'll go, how did these settlers ever come across the Rockies? Seriously. How did they do that? Now, I know you're going to tell me, Sal, they came in the summer, doofus. I know they came in the summer. But even in the summer, that is quite the trip. And the other thing is that they were doing it with mules and horses. How did those horses ever survive? You understand, they're pulling those weights. A whole wagon load of stuff, including a couple of tons of people, and those horses are trying to pull that up a mountainside. Scary to me. And of course, if one of the horses doesn't make it, I'm sure you had meat for quite a while, but where do you get the next horse from? I mean, it's not like you go to the next town and pick up a couple of horses. They were the front end of the expeditions. So I really don't know how they did it. sometimes I watch some of those programs and I think, well, I'm not. Everybody's always said that they thought I would make a great pioneer because of my ability to make a plan, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I don't think I would necessarily. So what about you? Do you think you'd make a good pioneer? If things don't go exactly right, do you have a cow, or do you, just go, okay, fine, let's try and find another way? It is really funny how many people have an absolute cow. That was my good deed for the day. And it's like, it doesn't help, does it? I assure you that I'm not perfect at that either, don't get me wrong. Some days I can control that a lot better than others. It depends how important it is to me. Now it's a beautiful day. You remember how cloudy and nasty it was and sucked in with mist and everything? Fog. Now look at it. It is a beautiful day. You can probably, not sure if you can see anything behind me, but the sun is shining now and the shadows are out, and I haven't put on any heat. It's still 8 degrees, but it's pretty now, whereas before it was dark and claustrophobic. Now it is bright and beautiful. So it's going to be a bright and beautiful day. Goody. Here I go. I'm very close to work. I'm running a little late, as I said, but at least I'm here and I'm healthy, and I'll be there in 5 minutes. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much for watching and for listening. Let me know what you think. I'm always interested. Bye for now.